Hand over the phone now, or security will remove you.
My daughter controls this account from today, starting. Are you certain you want to remove me before tomorrow's signing? Where is she?
My daughter has taken control of her account.
You removed the person authorized to control my key. Restore her access.
You took my authority, but you never took my leverage. Tomorrow, you'll discover what your arrogance just cost you.
The boardroom speakerphone echoed through the marble and glass executive suite, freezing 40 senior executives in absolute silence. That confidentiality clause was personal to her. The billionaire voice boomed through the speaker, crisp, cold, and entirely unyielding. Her signature, her personal security clearance, and her direct oversight were the sole conditions of our partnership. By revoking her access and seizing her device, you have breached Section 12B. As of 5 seconds ago, the $250 million acquisition is officially cancelled. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, my arms crossed, watching the colour drain from the CEO's face. Beside him, his 24-year-old daughter, who had been smugly clutching my corporate iPhone just moments prior, dropped the device onto the mahogany table as if it had suddenly caught fire. Nobody in that room moved, nobody dared to breathe. They had no idea what was coming. But to understand how the most powerful executive in the firm destroyed his own empire in less than 24 hours, you have to realize that this wasn't where the story began. 6 years ago, I walked into the firm as a quiet senior strategist. While everyone else played corporate politics and schmoozed at rooftop bars, I buried myself in the grind. I built our cross-border tech portfolio from scratch. I logged 80-hour weeks, secured international regulatory clearances, and single-handedly cultivated our largest sovereign wealth client. To the upper management, however, I was just a reliable workhorse. I kept my head down, dressed modestly, and never bragged about my achievements. And because I never made a scene, they assumed I had no teeth. That was their first mistake. The CEO was an arrogant, old-money patriarch who viewed the company as his personal kingdom. He believed leadership was about dominance rather than competence. For years, he took credit for my deals, glossed over my contributions during shareholder meetings, and treated my quiet dedication as subservience. I let him believe it. I remained calm, collected, and focused. I knew that in the high-stakes world of international venture capital, true power isn't loud. True power is structural. Everything shifted 6 months ago when the CEO announced his upcoming retirement. The board assumed he would name a seasoned partner to succeed him. Instead, he brought in his youngest daughter. She was an entitled, socialite influencer with a brand-new communications degree and zero experience in institutional capital. She strolled into the building wrapped in head-to-toe designer clothes, expecting immediate worship from staff members who had spent decades mastering their trade. "Dad put me in charge of modernizing the firm," she announced on her very first day during a firm-wide assembly, casting a dismissive glance in my direction. "We need fresh, young faces representing our brand, not old corporate relics clinging to outdated methods." The entire room went dead silent. Executives looked down at their laps. I simply smiled, nodded, and made a few quick notes in my journal. Remember that detail, it matters later. Over the next few weeks, the harassment escalated into a daily campaign. The CEO's daughter began reassigning my top analysts to clear her administrative backlog. She rescheduled my client briefings to overlap with her personal photo shoots. She made condescending remarks in front of junior staff, openly mocking my work ethic and mocking my refusal to participate in her staged social media clips. "She's just bitter because her era is over," she loudly told a group of interns outside my glass office one afternoon. "She thinks she's indispensable just because she handles one big client. Anyone can hold a phone and talk to investors." Through every insult, every gaslighting tactic, and every public humiliation, I stayed entirely calm. I never raised my voice. I never complained to human resources. I never lost my composure. Because while they were busy trying to humiliate me, I was busy reading every line of the master contract we were preparing for the upcoming quarter. What the CEO and his daughter didn't know was that our flagship $250 million deal wasn't held together by the firm's brand name. It was held together by me. Years ago, when I negotiated the initial agreement with the lead investor, a notoriously private global tycoon who distrusted megacorporations, he made one non-negotiable demand. He would only trust his private data, proprietary encryption keys, and quarterly dividends to an individual, not an institution. I had drafted a custom, bulletproof non-disclosure and key person clause. It legally bound the entire multi-million-dollar structure directly to my personal government clearance and my private encrypted hardware token, which was linked exclusively to my corporate device. If anyone else attempted to access the portal, bypass my identity verification, or remove me from management without 30 days of written consent, the contract automatically self-terminated, imposing a massive breach penalty on the firm. I held the master key to the firm's entire valuation, but I kept that file stored strictly in my personal legal vault. They had no idea what was coming. The point of no return arrived on a Tuesday morning. We were 24 hours away from finalizing the quarterly allocation. The CEO called an emergency meeting in the main boardroom. As I walked in, notebook in hand, I noticed his daughter sitting at the head of the table in my usual seat. "Hand it over," the CEO demanded the moment I stepped inside, not even asking me to sit. I paused. "Excuse me." "Your device," he said, gesturing toward my corporate phone. "My daughter is taking over all primary accounts effective immediately. She will be the public face signing off on the $250 million closing tomorrow. You've been hovering over this account for too long, and frankly, we need someone with actual charm handling our top clients." His daughter smirked, holding out her hand with manicured nails. "Hand it over, sweetie. It's time for the real players to step up." Several junior partners looked away in second-hand embarrassment. The disrespect was deliberate, cruel, and absolute. They expected me to break. They expected me to cry, beg, or throw a tantrum. Instead, I looked at the CEO. "Are you sure you want to do this right now? Are you questioning my authority?" he snapped, his voice rising. "Hand over the phone or security will walk you out of this building without your severance. You're done here." This was their catastrophic mistake. Without a single word, I unlocked the device, wiped my personal photos with 2 swift taps, and set the phone gently on the mahogany table. "It's all yours," I said softly. The next morning, the board assembled to witness the official digital signing. The CEO had invited top media outlets, key shareholders, and the senior partners to watch his daughter execute the firm's biggest transaction of the decade. The daughter sat at the center table, wearing a triumphant grin. She picked up my old device, tapped the screen, and placed the call to the lead investor on speakerphone to broadcast her victory to the room. The line clicked. "Who is this?" the investor's sharp, authoritative voice echoed across the silent room. "Good morning," the daughter chirped using her best PR voice. "I am the new managing partner in charge of your account portfolio. My father and I have restructured the division to provide you with a much more dynamic, modern experience. I'll be getting your investment from now on." There was a long, terrifying pause on the line. "Where is she?" the investor asked, his tone dropping several octaves. The CEO leaned into the microphone, chuckling arrogantly. "Don't worry, sir. We've transitioned her out of the firm to elevate our management standards. My daughter has taken full control of her device and credentials as of yesterday." That was the moment the trap sprung. "You took her device?" the investor asked, sounding almost incredulous. "You forcibly removed the sole authorized custodian of our private key structure." "Well, yes, as the CEO, I have full authority over." "You have zero authority over my capital." The investor thundered through the speakerphone, his words booming like thunder throughout the glass room. That confidentiality clause was personal to her. Her signature, her personal security clearance, and her direct oversight were the sole conditions of our partnership. By revoking her access and seizing her device, you have breached Section 12B as of 5 seconds ago. The $250 million acquisition is officially cancelled. The silence that followed was suffocating. The CEO's face turned an ash-grey color. The daughter sat frozen, her hand hovering over the phone like she had just touched a copper wire. "Wait, sir, please," the CEO stammered, his arrogant posture collapsing into sheer panic. "We can transfer the clearance, we can fix this." "You can't fix anything," the investor replied coldly. "Not only is the deal dead, but our legal team is filing for immediate breach of contract penalties against your firm for unauthorized handling of encrypted data. Have a terrible day." The line went dead. The revenge cascade was instant and violent. Before the CEO could even process the call, the board members stood up in unison. Within 2 hours, emergency proceedings were initiated. By late afternoon, the firm's stock value plummeted as news leaked that their premier deal had evaporated. The board stripped the CEO of his voting power and ousted him before the sun set. His daughter's short-lived executive career ended before it even began, her name becoming a cautionary joke across the entire financial district. I didn't watch the chaos unfold from the office. While they were suffering their public meltdown, I was sitting comfortably in a sunlit cafe 2 blocks away, sipping hot tea. My personal phone rang. It was the lead investor. "I assume you're out of that place now?" he asked, his voice returning to its warm, respectful tone. "I am," I replied calmly. "Good, my capital doesn't follow corporate logos. It follows competence. My legal team has already set up the holding structure for your independent venture. The $250 million is ready to deploy whenever you are." I smiled, looking out at the city skyline. I hadn't lost anything. I had simply stepped out of the way so they could destroy themselves. 3 months later, my new independent firm opened its doors, taking 70% of my former employer's top talent with me. The CEO was forced into early, humiliated retirement, drowning in shareholder lawsuits, while his daughter deleted her social media accounts after being publicly exposed by industry journalists. They tried to take my work, my authority, and my voice. Instead, they gave me my freedom. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who had no idea who they were dealing with? Tell me your story in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe and turn on notifications for more revenge stories every week.